Sheikh Yasir, interesting topic I want to bring up. This is, subhanAllah, we spoke last time we were together 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and then you left me for 2 weeks. What happened? You just, my wife said, did you get Sheikh Yasir angry? I said, no, I didn't get him angry.
I'm gonna be prophetic and let that one slide. See what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna let that one slide. I'm just no defending of the self. Just let it slide.
So we spoke about the rise of Satanism.
Yeah.
And that sleep token, and then a friend of mine, Allah, I love this brother Arish. He sent me this video, this adult cartoon that is on Amazon Prime, and I want to play for everyone the first 2 minutes of the intro to this cartoon. I'll give everyone the name because it's crazy. Hazbin Hotel, the official full episode. It's on YouTube. I did not watch the full episode. But let's watch these first 2 minutes together, and then we can discuss Hazbin Hotel.
Once upon a time, there was a glowing city protected by golden gates, known as heaven. It was ruled by beings of pure light, angels that worshipped good and shielded all from evil. Lucifer was one of these angels. He was a dreamer with fantastical ideas for all of creation. But he was seen as a troublemaker by the elders of heaven, for they felt his way of thinking was dangerous to the order of their world. So he watched as the angels began to expand the universe in their ways. From the dust of earth, they created Adam and Lilith, equals as the first of mankind. But despite this, Adam demanded control, and Lilith refused to submit to his will. She fled the garden. Drawn in by her fierce independence, Lucifer found her, and the two rebellious dreamers fell deeply in love. Together, they wished to share the magic of free will with humanity, offering the fruit of knowledge to Adam's new bride, Eve, who gladly accepted. But this gift came with a curse, for with this single act of disobedience, evil finally found its way into earth. With it, a new realm of darkness and sin, and the order heaven had worked to maintain was shattered. As punishment for their reckless act, heaven cast Lucifer and his love into the dark pit he had created, never allowing him to see the good that came from humanity, only the cruel and the wicked. Ashamed, Lucifer lost his will to dream, but Lilith thrived, empowering demonkind with her voice and her songs, and as the numbers of hell grew, so did its power. Threatened by this, heaven made a truly heartless decision, that every year they would send down an army, an extermination, to ensure hell and its sinners could never rise against them. But Lilith's hope remained, and her dream was passed down to their precious daughter, the princess of hell.
Unbelievable. Oh my goodness. I mean, Sheikh Yasir, first of all, this is on Amazon Prime.
What are you doing to me?
I'm introducing you to the world you're not seeing. The world you don't want to see. But here's the issue. It's the world that most people are seeing. This is just the reality. And so, so much to be said here, Sheikh Yasir.
Yeah.
And I think, first of all, before we even get into how decrepit and messed up this messaging is, to all parents out there, I want to tell you, if your kids have a laptop or if they have an iPhone, and I know most of them have access to Amazon Prime because most of us use Amazon, probably have access to Netflix, probably have access to other things, curiosity will bring them to watching these sort of shows. And so as parents, we need to parent. We need to be very conscious of what our children are consuming and making sure that they don't consume junk trash like this. That's number one. I know there's a few things that you and I need to talk about when it comes to this, Sheikh Yasir, theologically and all the other stuff. But number two, I'll just say that this is where they get our kids.
Yeah.
These fancy animated shows and these fancy animated cartoons, and they start to fill them with a bunch of incorrect theological information to try to detach them from the truth of what we have and what we're teaching them. And there's a lot to be said there, Sheikh Yasser. I've got a few other things here about how Lucifer is a dreamer. Shaytan is a dreamer. Allah cast him out because he's a dreamer. No, he disobeyed. He disobeyed completely. But I'll give you some time, and then I'll get into it as well with you, Sheikh Yasser.
It's the problem is that when you project the human ego and the nafs of the human being onto the sacred, and you try to bend the will of the sacred to the will of the human nafs, the human self, then that's what we're seeing. It's like, because the protagonist is the human being. It's the story of the free thinker, free-willed, free-spirited person who kind of wants to be bigger than X, Y, and Z, and doesn't want to conform, doesn't want to live in an antiquated reality, and wants to break free. Like, that's a celebrated secular notion.
Yeah.
So when the objective is, let's malign the sacred, let's alter it, let's make it as if it is the problem, it is the burden, it's this like heavy, daunting, wet blanket that I just need to throw off so I can soar. That's this whole notion, in the whole narrative. At the end of the day, for us, Iblis is not a fallen angel. Not at all. He is a jinn who disobeyed Allah, right? And he could have easily course corrected, but his ego and his nafs insisted. God is not vindictive in a way you cross him once, because we have simultaneously the example, and they brought it, of Adam and Eve.
Right.
Adam and Eve were not cast into some demonic reality. No, they were punished. They sought forgiveness, and they moved on, and they are at the helm of human existence.
Yeah,
so Satan decided to say, Iblis, Satan decided to say, I'm doubling and tripling down on my ego, on my desires, on my wants. That's the obvious distinction. So it's not as if we've been catapulted into this reality because of a vindictiveness that played out because you crossed me. So now watch, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he's the one who allowed Satan in our tradition to exist. Satan says, can you let me stay until the day they're resurrected? فَأَنظِرْنِي إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. So Allah said, إِنَّكَ مِنَ الْمُنظَرِينَ. Okay, I will let you remain, and for reasons that Allah knows.
Yeah. And Sheikh Yasser, I mean, the scary thing here, and you hit it, is like, cast aside God, be happy, fulfill your desires. At the end of the day, if we look at all these shows, if we listen to a lot of the music that's out there, what is it basically about? Go sleep with this one, go sleep with that one, go smoke this, go eat that, go drink that. I mean, most rap or even what is it, the other sort of music, the pop music that I'm hearing these days, if we listen to it, what is it all about? It's about how much I consume in terms of how drunk I can get and how many people I can bed. And so that's not the stuff that we want to fill our hearts with or our kids with, because it does have an impact on us. And to the adults there, if you have a drive home for work, those are still going to work every day, you got to wean yourself off of that music. You got to wean yourself off of those concepts that are being interjected in these songs that are being stored in your mind and in your heart, and they are going to impact the way that you think and the way that we act.
100%.
And so, we just need to be conscious of all this stuff. And what's scary here, this is nothing new, Sheikh Yasser, in the sense that they've been going after our kids for a very long time.
Not just our kids, they've been going after all of us.
They've been going after all of us for a long time. Yeah, absolutely. It's true.
I in the last Pros of the Quran conference, for those of you who don't know, Pros of Quran conference is the yearly conference at Al-Madina with our dear Habib Moutasem put on. It's a beautiful gathering. Inshallah, I hope to see all of you next time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But I gave a talk called The Obstacles on the Way. Yeah. And in that talk, I spoke about, the indoctrination and the underlying ideas, ideologies, isms that penetrate, that are meant to condition us and program us into thinking a very distinct way about life. It's not meaning that it's not so dumbfounding or arbitrary that every young kid wants to get away. Every young kid today feels like I have to live my life. I have to break free, because all the messaging in Disney movies and in pop culture and in these songs, as Moutasem was saying, they're all encouraging and teaching implicitly, explicitly, hey, listen, the only way you're going to thrive is by breaking free, leaving and living your life. I speak to so many young kids who talk to me as if their life is hell. And they have to just, like, the solution is, I'm going to be so better off if I can just move across the country, if I can go live by myself at school, if I can just get away. And the reality is that is nothing other than an impulse that is encouraged and inspired by the Shaytan. But the Shaytan uses his army of jinn and ins, of humans and the jinn realm, to cultivate these narratives and to have them standard. Unfortunately, these narratives are standard. Everyone, young and old. I have people who leave marriages, Habib.
Yeah.
The same narrative.
Yep.
I have to break free. I have to liberate myself. I have to give, like, when the Shaitan comes to me, to a person, and says, hey, it's high time that you do for yourself and not for others, that is the most Iblisi line. It's like straight out of Satan's playbook. Don't do for others, do for yourself. And so people leave marriages for themselves. People go into careers for themselves. People don't take care of other people for themselves. People neglect things for themselves. It's like we don't. So that's what I'm saying. It's young and it's old.
Yeah, and what's amazing about it,
women.
And the satanic influence on the human being, the Satan is weak. Satan is weak.
Allah
tells us he's weak. You say, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim," and Satan is solved.
Yeah.
What's tough for us to deal with is our own egos and the nafs, those desires that we have. So, look, I mean, what do we do about this stuff, and how do we handle the society around us? I mean, I think Shaykh Yasir, you and I are on the same page. Like, everyone needs to know that there is this concept of called tazkiyatun nafs, the purification of the soul. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught it through the messenger of God, Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, and it was passed off from generation to generation, generation to generation. And great spiritual saintly scholars have written books about it, about what you're looking at, what you're listening to, those feelings that come inside my heart, how to deal with them, because stuff happens, right? We're a human being, but there's a process that we go through to get our spirits, ourselves into a better state of being. And so, just like I always constantly use this example, Shaykh Yasir, because I really feel it is the best example. Like, I promised your brother Ahmed that I'm going to do a marathon. And let me tell you something about running. I hate running. I rather get punched in the stomach and in the gut and in the face 50 times over and hop on a treadmill and run for half an hour. But I know that if I do it, the results are going to be good for me. And what ends up happening is I force myself onto that treadmill. And even at one point, my wife was like going this like intense run. What's intense for me was like a speed 7 on the treadmill. And I was dying. And my wife's upstairs and I'm downstairs. I'm like screaming at myself, run, like, you will run. And my wife comes rushing down, like, is everything okay? I was like, yeah, what's wrong? She's like, I heard you yelling. I was like, no, I'm forcing myself to continue because I don't want to continue. And then over time, over these past 2 months, I've gotten to the point where I can't go without running at least 3 or 4 times a week, right? That which I hated, that which I disliked because I was more accustomed just to chilling out, became that which now I can't live without. The spiritual purification process is the same exact way. Those things that we think that we like, that we enjoy right now, that we know aren't really healthy for us, once we go through this process of abandoning them and replacing them with something that's so much better for us, the thing that we replaced it with become the most beloved treasures to us in this world. And there's nothing greater than, of course, the remembrance of Allah. Shaykh Yasir, wala dhikrullahi
akbar.
Akbar.
Habib, just to add to that, there's no one of us at the end of Ramadan, and Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, bless our Rajab, bless our Sha'ban, and bring us to Ramadan. All of us, by the end of Ramadan, how do we feel on the day of Eid al-Fitr? We all feel better. And there's a reason why we feel better.
Yeah.
It's because our system, no matter how minimal or how major, has been recalibrated. Because what's happening? You're spending your days in fast. You're spending your nights in ritual prayer,
Yep.
being together with the community. You're spending more time with your family, net. You're giving more charity, net. You're praying more, net. You're reading more Quran, net. Like everything has increased. All the right stuff, the right habits, the beautiful routines, those have Allah brought them into our lives. So what happens at the end is that we naturally feel better. We feel aligned. We feel beautified. And so we also have to understand is that very often, Habib, it's not easy to do this stuff alone. It's actually very challenging to do it alone. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, Surah Al-Kahf, when he talks about the antidote for the fitan, for the trials and tribulations, he says, especially the fitna of our deen, he says, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُم بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ. He says, be patient and persevere with those who call to the way of Allah and don't even turn your eyes away from them. Meaning that a big part of how we address the challenges of what we were talking about in terms of this Netflix or Amazon or whatever this thing was, or the music or the culture that kind of drags us in a particular direction, a big part of the antidote is to actually find righteous companionship.